What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, I'm going to talk about where my team is at on the eve of the Game Week 1 deadline. As always at this point, there's only a few more things to think about, but those fringe players are often the toughest decisions to make. There's a little bit of panic setting in as well. Let's talk about it. So let's start with what I would consider the current main team. If the deadline was in 10 minutes, I'd probably lock something in a bit like this. I'm fairly happy with it, but at the same time, and I don't know if anyone else feels like this, the day before the FPL deadline and the day of the deadline, it's like all rational thought just goes out the window. All that stuff you've thought about and researched, none of it feels good enough. Every draft I look at now just doesn't feel quite right. I just need 0.5 million here or there, and I just don't have it. So I think this draft, if someone showed it to me, like if someone was on a stream and they showed me this team, I'd say it was pretty good. But I'm looking at it and it's my team, and I'm just doubting the whole thing. So let me just talk through it. Sanchez in goal is pretty much a lock at this point. I understand that Chelsea could go and buy a goalkeeper like after game week 1. It is Chelsea after all, but there's not really been many links with them getting a new keeper. So I'm fairly confident in Sanchez. I could go to sells, but I like Chelsea's short and long-term fixtures. I do have a double up in defence. It's Romero and Pedro Porro as it stands. I'll be honest, just looking at it doesn't make me feel good. Like a double up on Spurs defence, they were so bad last year. I expect some improvement this year, but is it enough to double up? Are the fixtures that good? Not quite sure, but individually, I think they're both good options. Pedro Porro at this point is pretty much a lock in my team. I don't see me going into the deadline without him unless we get injury news from Thomas Frank on Friday saying that he's a doubt. Taking lots of set pieces with James Maddison injured. If Spurs end up buying Eze, he may well take over some of that set piece duty, but I like Porro regardless. And at 5.5, he's a nice jump-off point to Manoz if I want to go for that. And if not, Spurs have just got good long-term fixtures. So I don't see me going without Porro. Romero at 5 million, I like Nico Williams as well, but I already have him. There's not many other 5 million defenders that I like, especially for Game Week 1. Lacroix is not bad, but you're not going to play him against Chelsea away. I could split the risk and play Anderson Game Week 1, have Lacroix on the bench. I will think about that. But I just quite like that double up for Burnley at home, and it's not too bad later. And also, if I want to keep Porro, I could always do Romero to Lacroix. So I've got options to jump off onto the Crystal Palace defence if I want to. So I'm not super crazy about double Spurs defence, but each player is just good. Obviously, I could go for Van der Ven, but if you've got the money, you should buy Romero. Probably going to be better for defensive contributions. Definitely better from a fitness point of view. Nailed on. Like, I don't see Romero missing out, whereas Danso possibly at some point could play instead of Van der Ven. Romero's got the goal threat, etc. And all this worry about yellow cards and stuff. I think he only got 3 last year or something like that. So he has reined it in a bit. Nico Williams, I guess there is some threat if Nottingham Forest go and buy another fullback, which they are trying to do. But Nico Williams is going to start the season. And I think by the time we get to game week 6, I'm probably looking to offload him anyway. Midfield is Salah, Fernandes, Wirtz. Salah and Fernandes are locked in, so is Cole Palmer. It's just whether I go for Wirtz or Watkins. I'll come on to that in a second. I've got Tielemans instead of Anderson. I'm going to talk about that in a minute as well. And then Mateta and Strand Larsen up front. My bench is Dubravka, Anderson, Esteve, and Mark Guiu. One thing about Watkins, it does just feel stupid not to have him because the fixtures are just so good from game weeks 1 to 7. I will say the best fixture run for Villa is probably 5 to 7 when they've got Burnley, Fulham and Sunderland. Like before that, the fixtures are not bad, but in the kind of first few game weeks, you know, it's Newcastle at home game week 1. It's not bad, and I'm not trying to say game weeks 1 to 4 are terrible. Absolutely not. It's also got Everton away. They can defend well. You know, it looks good as a 7 as a whole. But if I miss Watkins for the first 4 game weeks, will it be the end of the world? Not necessarily, but at the same time, it just does feel stupid. It just does. Because for 9 million, I got someone who's super consistent. I know exactly what I'm getting. He might take penalties. And once he's in game week 1, you just forget about him for 7 game weeks. I'm never going to sell him unless he picks up an injury or suddenly gets benched. And if that happens, I can jump off. So I think the best fixtures for Villa are 5 to 7, but as a whole, they're great. It does feel stupid not to have him. Can Mateta get close to him in terms of points over the first 7? Fixtures for Palace definitely worse. Mateta's minutes should be good. There's not much competition there. Palace do have European games, which is a bit of a worry. But Mateta's going to be penalty taker. If Eze leaves, it makes Palace worse, but Mateta will definitely have pens. So how much will that kind of balance it? So I quite like him. And you've got to remember he's 1.5 million less. So he doesn't necessarily have to do as well as Watkins. And honestly, I look at that team, and the only player that I feel like I'm missing is Watkins. Of course, I can't have everyone. I don't have Frimpong. I don't have Aït-Nouri. I don't have Van Dijk. I don't have Munoz. I don't have Murillo. I don't have Tarkowski. I don't have Sarr. I don't have Kudus. João Pedro, right? The list goes on. But I can only pick 15. When I look at that team, the one player I want is Watkins. And if I'm missing just one player, is that the end of the world? Right? I know I can't have everyone else. So can I get on board going without him? It really depends on how much I trust Mateta, I think. I've got Tielemans instead of Elliot Anderson. I still think for 5.5 million, Elliot Anderson is the best pick in terms of kind of safety and defensive contributions and stuff like that. Tielemans is 0.5 more. I was chatting to a Forest fan earlier and basically questioning that in pre-season they've played a lot of 4-4-2. Right, so there's only 2 spots for Anderson. They're making plenty of signings as well. You know, is Anderson's minutes going to be a problem? The Forest fan I spoke to said he's absolutely nailed. So no issues there. But he did say he probably gets subbed around 70-75 minutes. And when you're buying a player for defensive contributions, you really want him on the pitch for close to 90. And I don't know if Elliot Anderson's going to be an 80-plus minute player at the start of the season, or especially when Europe kind of starts as well. So that does feel a little bit like overthinking, because I've had Elliot Anderson in so many drafts. All of a sudden, it's the eve of the FPL Game Week 1 deadline, and I've got Tielemans instead. But Tielemans' minutes we know will be good. If Rodgers is out, which I don't think he will be, but if he is, Tielemans could play number 10. He may get penalties, even though I think it'll be Watkins. He's quite good for defensive contributions, quite good for attacking threat. He's just a bit of an all-rounder for 6 million. I could go for Jorginho Ruta and go for a bit more of a flair pick. I could go for Paquetá, and Paquetá will be on penalties. I'm pretty confident of that ahead of Bowen and Fulkrug. Will he get sold, though? There is some slight doubt there. So it's like 5.5 million Elliot Anderson I'm not fully convinced by now, although I still think he's great. But am I massively convinced by the 6 million midfielders anyway? So that's proving a bit of a difficult spot, but there's not really anywhere I want to downgrade. I could go Romero to a 4.5, but that's just weakening my defence even more. So that's the current team, and genuinely, if someone showed me that, I'd say that's a really good draft. I wouldn't really pick too many holes in it, but I hate the fact that it's missing Watkins. Just wanted to show you, by the way, that although the defence looks a little bit weird with double Spurs, it actually does work quite well, because most weeks you don't mind playing Pedro Porro, and Romero and Joachim Andersen, who I've got on the bench, rotate quite nicely. So this is in the My Team tool on Fantasy Football Hub. If you want to get your rating for free, link in the description below, or scan the QR code on screen. Actually, as you can see, my rating is 99%. So this is the best team I've come up with so far, according to the My Team tool. And I think Mateta's probably a big part of that. So Game Week 1 looks fine. I've just shown you that. Game Week 2, if I just click Optimise, that's going to put in Esteve, Sunderland at home, Anderson, Man United at home, and Nico Williams, Palace away, which does mean Mateta's up against one of my defenders, but I can bench Porro and Romero for Game Week 2. If I go to Game Week 3 and click Optimise again, it's going to put Pedro Porro and Romero back in for Bournemouth at home, which is not an easy game, but I wouldn't mind playing them in that. And then Nico Williams is West Ham at home. In Game Week 4, when Nico Williams has got Arsenal away, I think Anderson's got Leeds at home, and Porro and Romero have got West Ham away. The thing is, look, playing double Spurs defence against Bournemouth and West Ham, it's not necessarily ideal. But by that point, if no other issues have come up in my team, Crystal Palace have got Sunderland at home in Game Week 4. I could always sell one of those Spurs players. And then it just carries on. Like Game Week 5, for example, you've then got Nico Williams, Burnley away, Anderson, Brentford at home, and Porro against Brighton away. So I wouldn't even have to play Romero that week. So it does work pretty well. And because the rest of the players in the team are all solid in terms of minutes, I shouldn't run into any issues unless I get injuries and stuff like that. So I'm quite flexible in terms of the transfers that I can make. So that's why I don't mind that first team. By the way, if you want to use all the features of this tool, AI transfers and stuff like that, great time to join Fantasy Football Hub, 50% off at the moment. If you join up, don't win your mini league, you will get your money back. Terms and conditions apply. All the links are in the description below. Let's talk about the next team. So one option to get Watkins is, of course, just to drop Wirtz. So in this team, I've gone from Wirtz to Jorginho Ruta, which saves 2.5 million. And then I've gone from Strand Larsen to Watkins using that 2.5 million. Potentially, I could have kept Strand Larsen and done Mateta to Watkins and that would have given me another million to spend. So potentially Ruta up to Sarr from Crystal Palace, and then another 0.5 to spend elsewhere, which could be Romero to Tarkowski, Nico Williams to Murillo, etc. So there are a couple of alternatives, but I've kind of taught myself into really wanting Mateta. I just think he was already looking like a pretty good option. I can't go for Solanke anymore at 7.5 because I don't think he'll start game week 1. And João Pedro's good, but I kind of want to back against that ownership. And you know me, by the way, if I thought João Pedro was definitely an amazing option, I'd have him. I don't care what the ownership is. But when I'm not quite so sure, it does make it a bit more interesting to back against that. And Mateta will be on penalties, I think, and João Pedro definitely won't, not with Cole Palmer. So that's one way of doing it. Am I happy with double 6 million midfielders? It's one of those things that just doesn't feel right. Even if Tielemans and Ruta are both good options, it doesn't feel right to have 2 sixes. It's almost like you want to have that 6.5. Because one of the things is, what if something goes wrong? If I need to sell Ruta or Tielemans, where do I go? Paquetá potentially, Minter if he's looking really good. But realistically, I'm going down to a 5.5. Now, that might not be a huge issue. Imagine if I start with Ruta, it doesn't work out, and Reinders is playing in this really amazing attacking role. Then it doesn't matter how much Reinders goes up in price, right? He's not going to go up quick enough where I can't make that move. I might lose some team value, but that's potentially going to happen at some point this season. So it's one of those things that doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right, but it's probably not the end of the world, right? It's just Ruta and Watkins instead of Wirtz and Strand Larsen. The only thing is, with Strand Larsen and Wirtz, I'm pretty confident Strand Larsen's going to get penalties, and I know Wirtz is absolutely nailed on, or at least I think he will be. With Ruta, there's some doubts there. He's not guaranteed to start number 9 or number 10, but I do think his minutes will be good. And is it okay to bet against Wirtz? Like, he is new to the Premier League. I think he's so good, it's not going to matter. But we have seen some people struggle. Watkins and Mateta is also quite flexible. So any 7.5 that comes around that I really need, I could sell over those. But I always wonder, does that really matter? I was discussing this on the members stream earlier. It's all well and good saying if I've got Watkins, I can move to any 7.5. It's only going to happen if there's an issue, if Watkins is a problem. Because ultimately, once Watkins goes in, he doesn't get sold for 7 game weeks because the fixtures are good. And also, why do I still have double Spurs defence? But again, if I'm looking at that, I've got Watkins. The only issue, if you want to call it that I see in this team is Jorginho Ruta. But again, I could just go to Paquetá. I could just go to Reinders. And if I go Reinders, I've got that 0.5 million to spend elsewhere. And again, if this was Ruta to Reinders and Nico Williams to Murillo or Romero to Munoz, whatever it is, right? Again, it wouldn't feel right to have Tielemans and Reinders, but I think that's okay. You have to make a sacrifice somewhere. So this looks really solid. And again, like I said on that first team, it does just feel stupid to not have Watkins. So maybe Wirtz is the one to let go. Or maybe I just need to detach from Mateta a little bit. I'm just rambling now, but I hope other people feel this way. I think because I make YouTube videos and stuff, people think I'm probably like calm going into the deadline. It just doesn't feel right. It always feels like I'm missing one player. I need that 0.5. But again, if someone showed me this team, I'd probably think it was pretty good. I'd say something like, okay, Ruta's not a guarantee, but if he does play regularly and does get some minutes at 9, 6 million could be really cheap. So again, I think it's okay. It's just that one midfield spot I'm not 100% sure about. And then, of course, you've got the option to have Ollie Watkins, Bruno Fernandes and Florian Wirtz in one team. It also has Salah and Palmer. So pretty much all the attackers that I want. Again, I haven't got everyone. I don't have Saka and Haaland, etc. But I've got the main 5 premium-ish attackers that I would really like in the team. I have to give credit to Praz, by the way, for this team, because he gave me the idea of kind of looking at this kind of structure. If you don't know who Praz is, you'll catch him on lots of different channels and stuff like that. The main one is the FPL Wire. Go and check them out. So this team obviously has to have some sacrifices. The biggest one for me, and the one I'm probably struggling to get my head around the most, is Dewsbury Hall in midfield. Now, at 5 million, I'm confident enough that his minutes are going to be pretty good. I don't know if I can guarantee he's going to play in the number 10 position all the time, but I think even if he doesn't play there, he'll probably play a little bit deeper, which could be good for defensive contributions, although he's probably not going to be like an Elliot Anderson or a Caicedo type of player, but you never know, right? The main issue is, I cannot be 100% certain about his minutes. I don't think anyone can. Not 100% certain, you can be close to that. And the main concern with that is, where do you run to if Dewsbury Hall is a problem? There's no money left in this draft, so I've either got to downgrade someone else, which is not necessarily a problem in 4 or 5 game weeks time, but it's not something I want to have to deal with in game weeks 2 or 3, or you go to a different £5 million midfielder. And there's really not that many great options. Nothing to get excited about. Like, all of a sudden, if this draft had Xhaka there or Baleba, am I as happy with it? Absolutely not. I'm only happy with it if Dewsbury Hall gets regular minutes, preferably as a number 10. But if it's not that, like if it's an 8, it's not the end of the world. But there's also part of me that thinks that's the only risk, really. Like, that's the only problem. Like, the other drafts have got like one slight issue, like Jorginho Ruta in the last one. If it's Dewsbury Hall and he's only taken up $5 million of my budget, what is the issue? I just don't know if I can go in with it because I'm worried about where I will go. Like, if it was like last season where I had Morgan Rogers at $5 million, that wasn't a major problem because he was on the bench most of the time. He was like someone that you could bring in. In this setup, Dewsbury Hall basically has to get played every week. I do have Mark Guiu on the bench like most people, but there's no guarantee what his minutes will be like. And Anderson and Esteve are useful in some weeks, but they're mostly useful as rotation. I don't want to be playing Porro, Van der Ven, Nico Williams, and one of Anderson or Esteve most weeks. So if Dewsbury Hall starts losing minutes, he becomes a problem. But again, just to play devil's advocate with my own points here, Watkins, Strand Larsen, Palmer, Wirtz, Fernandes, Salah, Pedro Porro, Nico Williams pretty much are not going to cause me any problems without injuries. And so I should be able to stack transfers up. And I'm pretty confident Dewsbury Hall's starting game week 1. And I think if his minutes go down, it's probably not going to be until after the international break. If I can get to game week 4, having not made a transfer, all of a sudden, I've got 3 to use and I can distribute some funds. Maybe I sell Wirtz or Watkins, whoever it might be. I won't want to do that because their fixtures coming up will be pretty good. Like in game week 4, Wirtz has Burnley. But if I have to do it, I can. So there is some temptation to go with this. Instead of Van der Ven, who I've had to get in instead of Romero because I don't have the money to keep him, it could just be a different 4.5. I could spread the risk a little bit. I'm not completely confident in Van der Ven's fitness. I've said that already in this video. I think he will start every game he can when he's fit and available, but will that always be the case? I don't know. But that could be like Richards, for example, from Crystal Palace. It could even be Dorgu. Play Anderson against Brighton away, play him against Man United at home in game week 2, play Dorgu against Burnley at home game week 3, Anderson against Leeds at home game week 4, Anderson against Brentford at home game week 5. Game week 6 is a bit iffy, but then game week 7, Dorgu's got Sunderland at home. So that's another rotation I could go for. I think as well as Dewsbury Hall, the defence does worry me a little bit. But the other drafts I've just shown you don't have huge money in defence. It's really not that much of a difference. It's basically 0.5 million. It's Van der Ven or a different 4.5 instead of Romero. It's not like I've gone from 8 Nuri, Frimpong, and I don't know, Pedro Porro all the way down to 5 4.5s. So that again is not really that much of a problem. In general, will I get burnt by not having a £6 million defender? Possibly. When the game first launched and defensive contributions, I really wanted like a Van Dijk or someone like that. Now I don't have them, but that happens in many seasons. You start off with an expensive defence and you slowly pull money out of it to get a better attack. So again, I think that looks so solid, apart from Dewsbury Hall. But if Everton fans can convince me he's going to get enough minutes, maybe that's the way to go. The other thing, by the way, is, just while I'm rambling on here, I'm getting a little bit more tempted to go for Thiago as well, from Brentford. Now, long term, I cannot guarantee his minutes, but he's going to start game week 1. I'm pretty sure about that. And I think until at least game week 3, he'll be starting every week as long as he's fit. That shaves off 0.5 million from Strand Larsen. Then I can go from Dewsbury Hall to a 5.5, so back to Anderson or possibly Reinders. But all of a sudden, if I go from Strand Larsen and Dewsbury Hall to Thiago and Reinders, you know, I go from potentially 1 issue in Dewsbury Hall to potentially 2. So that's where I'm struggling. I think with my playstyle, I do like just having, when I say safe picks, right, most of the time, I am just saying better picks because they're going to play. Therefore, they've got a good chance of getting points. But I do like minutes, right? I don't want to have to worry about these players. I want to get them in for good fixtures and not be looking at the team sheet every single game week to make sure they're playing. And that's why I find it hard for Dewsbury Hall. But if I think about how I played like back in the day, I've been playing 15 years now, I'd absolutely be locking in a draft like this. Dewsbury Hall, who cares? If it goes wrong, I'll figure it out later. So there is some temptation to do this because not many people are looking at it, and it does get all those attackers in that I really want. I also think, if I'm honest, I'm probably feeling a little bit of pressure to do well this season because although my last 5 ranks have all been pretty good, I really want that top 10k again. And it's getting harder and harder to get, but I feel like I need it and I don't want to go wrong. And every season I start slow, and people will say it's because you always make the same mistake. Like, there is a bit of luck involved, right? You know, sometimes you start slow and end well. Sometimes you start well and end slow, right? It can happen. But I just don't want this season to be another one where I start off too slow and have to claw it back and then maybe just about finish inside the top 100k. Like 77k last year, not bad. The previous 4 seasons, all better than that. But I am slowly creeping down. It's like 35k, 45k, 77. I want to go up. I want to get a better rank. And so I'm feeling the pressure a little bit. And it always gets to the last day. And because I've spent so much time making content, I always feel like I haven't thought about my own team enough. But realistically, I have. Like, look at all these drafts I've shown you. Fernandez, Salah, Palmer, Strand Larsen's in a lot of drafts, Porro, Nico Williams, Sanchez. I'm really stressing over 2 or 3 positions. And ultimately, it'll probably make no difference anyway. So right now, the first draft is the one I like the most. I just need confidence in a 5 million midfielder. And I think I would just lock this in and worry about it later. Because a 4.5 versus Romero, who really cares? Anyway, I just wanted to kind of get across that, you know, we're all feeling like this, I think, or a lot of us probably are, ahead of the deadline. And I wanted to talk about how my team is right now, because this will be the last video around my team that I do. There'll be final thoughts video out in the morning. Lots of your questions, hot topics, team news answered in that. And then a deadline stream at 4:30 p.m. UK time. Please do join me for that. If you've enjoyed that one, make sure to give it a like, hit that subscribe button, get your team rated for free over on Fantasy Football Hub, completely free. Scan that QR code on screen, or the link in the description below. And like I said, if you want to join up right now, 50% off. And if you don't win your mini league, you'll get your money back. Terms and conditions apply. All the links you need, as always, description below. If I don't see you on Final Thoughts tomorrow or the deadline stream, good luck, and hopefully I'll catch you for some videos for Game Week 2. I'll see you soon.